Unless there are any questions. But, so before the presentation comes up, I want to share with the team that Desire will be joining as the lead, if not co-lead, on the Fintech Sandbox workstream, as this becomes part of the Modular Accelerator program. She's going to take on a more active role along with Steve and Manzi from the adoption support team. So for this PI, we started off wanting to have a sandbox that can deploy our latest release, Modular V15 or greater, and then obviously maintaining the sandbox with refreshes for versions, bug fixes, and then we also want to make the process of requesting access to a sandbox more streamlined, and Desire will talk about that. So why don't we start off with that, and then we look at the technical side of it. Desire, over to you.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, it's on. All right. So hi, everyone. Thank you, Sam, for that. So as Sam was explaining that, one of the things that we want to do is come up with a process whereby people are able to request directly to use the sandbox. We are thinking of combining it with the accelerator program, but for now, if there is any tech company that would like to use the sandbox, they could just reach out to either me or Sam. So here's the overview of the process and how we are intending for it to go. We'll be changing it as we actually start to try out the sandbox. So we have a form that we've put together. The form is accessible whenever someone requests. So for interested people, they could just email either me or Sam or Steve that they're interested to use the sandbox, and we'll share with them a form. And the basic things that we want to cover in that form is, what do you need from the accelerator? So, from the fintech. So what type of use cases and scenarios would you like to test out? What type of a project are you working on at that time? And what type of outcomes do you want the program to give you? Also, do you need any other support? So above and beyond the actual access to the sandbox, is there any other support or anybody else from the community that could help you out with that? So you can mention it within the form. Also, we will then ask you for a time period. Right now, we've limited it to 2 months, but you can say you need it for 2 weeks or 1 month. If it's anything above 2 months, you can also request and we'll find a way to accommodate you. And lastly, which was the most important bit for us, is the learning process from using the sandbox. So we'll request that you either write a report or you give us some form of feedback that we can then use to share back with the community and to Sam and the team, so that we can make sure that the sandbox is supportive to you, but also what kind of learnings are we getting from giving you access to that sandbox. I think that's it. So if you have any questions, you could just directly reach out to me. Thank you. Sam?
Thank you for that, Desire. Great to be here. I would encourage anyone interested to try out this process. So where are we right now on the tech side of things? Thanks to the work done by workstream from core maintenance and releases, Vijay, Paul Baker, Miguel. We have a capability to deploy a sandbox using IAC. We recently have IAC V4410. I think we'll cover that in more detail in another session. But we are able to deploy Modular 1510. I think there is one issue that Vijay is fixing, but that shouldn't be a blocker. We have the application process, so I think we've made a lot of progress. There is one other thing I think we wanted to do, which was improving the documentation for the various tools available. That is still a work in progress. And then there's also another aspiration where I want to make sure the supporting tools we have, such as Miniloop and Docker Compose and others, cater for most of the requirements, so that the usage of a full-blown fintech sandbox itself becomes very minimal. So that's our aspiration, and we'll work towards that. These are the various sandbox features that we have. Nothing changed from earlier. It is deployed using IAC. We have the several use cases supported, like the peer-to-peer, bulk, third-party settlement, request to pay. There are updates on request to pay, which we'll hear on the core maintenance session. We have simulators, gateway, WSO2 for now. David talked about upgrading to Istio, but this is what we have now. And then, of course, Finance Portal. There's also a reporting engine, which is not widely discussed. Of course, security and support for onboarding as well. Again, the goals for upcoming period is to make sure that it still supports our latest releases. Let's say there's a V15.1.1 or V16 the version. Also, we want to look at cost optimization. Primarily, I think there are very fundamental things we can do there, limiting the cost period as Jisai talked about. But also use tools like Docs Compose and Miniloop where possible, and be more careful with the time period that's handled. That's all I have for this session. If you have any questions, I'll check the chat. And thank you. Sunil.
Thank you so much, Sam. Any questions?
What's the current usage of Sam? What's the current usage of the Fintech Sandbox? Who's using it?
We just decommissioned one. So last time we had one spun up for the one accelerator program as part of most of the accelerator. We concluded that program, so that shut down. Now we don't have. I think we have an active request from one of the teams, which desire and still consider. Once that is approved, we'll start up Sandbox.
Any other questions? I do not see any.
You're saying the Sandbox was shut down yesterday, Sam?
So this is the Fintech Sandbox for the Rwanda program. Yeah, that was shut down a couple of weeks ago. Right now we have some testing going on for IAC 15.10. That's a different aspect which is not part of the Fintech Sandbox.
Oh, okay, thanks.
One of the things that I maybe want to take time to clarify is for people wondering where this fits into our ecosystem, we have, when we talk about infrastructure, so to speak, we look at it in terms of segmented the market, so to speak. The hobbyists and developers who would like to deploy Moduloop, and for that, the Miniloop tool is a fantastic way to do so and install it on your own machine and play around with it. But then as you quickly move up, there are those folks who, mostly fintech organizations, who require a little more resources, a little more than what Miniloop offers. And for that, we have the Fintech Sandbox. And as Sam said, this is something that we can quickly spin up or spin down as required. And the easiest way is to make a request by emailing Sam or Desire. And once you've got the explanation and once you understand the use of access and so on and so forth, you're able to spin one up for you, and the fintech companies can use that to test their for whatever purposes they wish to do. And then as you go higher up, we start to think about on-prem. So it's a useful way to look at accessing and using Moduloop, depending on where you find yourself in that spectrum, from the hobbyist to the individual developer who's curious, all the way to enterprise scale deployment using on-prem, anything in between. So please do give a think about that. Hopefully everyone is covered. If you feel you're not covered, send us an email and we'll figure out where we can position you. Awesome.